Whether you operate one forklift or thousands, one location or hundreds, the new My Toyota customer portal can help you optimize your operation and material handling equipment. This one-stop, free-to-use platform is designed to help you take control of your information and make smarter decisions, all at the touch of a button. Register and access your data today at my.toyotaforklift.com. That's my.toyotaforklift.com.
Hi, this is Harold Vanasse of Enersys, and you're listening to the New Warehouse Podcast. Today's safety tip is ensure that battery connectors are in good shape with no damage and that your battery cables have no exposed copper. And always make sure that the charger is off or stopped before disconnecting a battery from the charger.
With e-commerce off the charts, many small and growing warehouses are asking, how can I get ahead when my warehouse is barely keeping up? The answer is future-ready warehouse tech from Zebra Technologies. Warehouses can simplify and upgrade all processes, from automated inventory management to hands-free picking, with Zebra's tailored, scalable mobile solutions. They're simple and intuitive. There's never been a better time to upgrade for success with Zebra. How can your warehouse get ahead? The answer's in black and white. Get the answers at zebra.com/theanswer. That's zebra.com/theanswer. Fulfillment demand continues to skyrocket and outpace available labor. To keep up, warehouse operators are turning to flexible fulfillment solutions like 6 River Systems. Utilizing 6 River Systems' award-winning combination of collaborative robots, artificial intelligence, and operational expertise will make your associates and wall-to-wall fulfillment workflow more efficient. No new infrastructure, no change to warehouse layout, easy to deploy and scale, easy to train and retain associates, all at half the cost of traditional automation. Want to take your fulfillment operation to the next level? Go to www.6river.com to learn more. That's www.6river.com to learn more.
The New Warehouse Podcast, hosted by Kevin Lawton, is your source for insights and ideas from the distribution, transportation, and logistics industry. A new episode every Monday morning brings you the latest from industry experts and thought leaders. And now, here's Kevin.
Hey, it's Kevin Lawton with the New Warehouse Podcast, bringing you a new episode today. On today's episode, I'm going to be joined by an old friend, previous guest, multiple times, I think, on the show, Harold Vanasse. He is the Senior Director of Marketing for Motive Power at Enersys, and Enersys provides us with those batteries that make our forklifts go, as well as many other batteries for other industries as well. But obviously, we're going to focus on material handling today. So Harold's going to join us. We're going to talk a little bit about how consumer behavior has kind of been through the pandemic and now kind of coming out in regards to batteries. And he's also going to talk to us a little bit about some of the new advanced power management tools that Enersys recently launched. And we're also going to talk a little bit about the concept of total cost of ownership. And he's going to get into a little bit about that and how some of these new tools help you with that. So Harold, welcome to the show. How have you been?
I've been good, Kevin. Thanks for having me back. This is just, one of my favorite podcasts. So I give you great credit for bringing this to the industry because I think we need it. But it's great to be back, and I'm looking forward to talking to you.
Oh, I really appreciate that. And thank you for the kind words. I mean, we were just talking about, our first conversation before we started recording here back in 2019 at ProMat. And, I was just saying, how grateful I was for you kind of welcoming there into your booth and, sending me up to the second level there and the mezzanine and stuff. Very cool stuff. So I'm happy we've been in touch this whole time.
Yeah, me too. And I just remember those days. That's when we actually got together, wasn't it? And actually saw each other face to face. Seems like forever ago. I
know. It does seem like forever ago. I mean, it's been 2 years, but I would say it feels like 5, maybe 6. Definitely. Yeah. So for those maybe that are newer listeners or not familiar with Enersys, why don't you just give us kind of a brief overview of Enersys and what it is you guys do from your perspective?
Absolutely. So Enersys is the global leader in stored energy solutions. We're actually the world's largest industrial battery manufacturer. So we make industrial batteries, industrial chargers, and energy systems as well. So the markets we serve are material handling, which is, what we're going to talk about today, logistics and warehousing. But we also do communication network equipment, transportation, over-the-road vehicles, batteries and for that, cable and broadband, data centers, medical. We're in that sector, aerospace and defense. Industrial power and utilities. So batteries, chargers, and energy systems for all of those industries. So we're a fairly wide-ranging industrial battery company, and we do it all over the world.
Definitely, yeah. And you guys are always coming out with new technology around the battery world as well. And, I've certainly used them in my experience too. With some Raymond trucks that we have Enersys batteries as well. So definitely quality products. So I'm curious now. I want to talk to you a little bit about, because I think it's been a little while since I talked to Enersys, and I'm wondering, how has the consumer behavior been around the motive power market kind of throughout the pandemic? And I'm curious too, how is it going now as we're kind of coming out of this dark time in our history, right?
It's been interesting, yeah. And it's funny since we really, our products power the lift trucks that move materials and goods to consumers. We're in that supply chain. So watching it's been fascinating because, you watch the news, you see it personally. We were all working from home. Our employees that were in our factories were still working, and it was a mission critical industry. So it was just fascinating to watch the whole thing. And, we definitely saw, as our battery and charger sales went, you could watch them support the products that people were using as they were working from home, staying from home. So distribution, internet sales, groceries, those markets really took off, and we saw businesses buy more of that product as their businesses surged, and they just needed to get stuff out. And, you saw some other sectors start to drop a little bit in some of the manufacturing sectors that weren't necessarily focused on keeping people supplied for at home and keeping mission-critical businesses going. Coming out of the pandemic, though, now we've started to see that demand come up from those industries that are opening back up and reviving as the economy recovers. Really, for reality, economy was shut off globally or suppressed maybe for the last 15 months, and then now all of a sudden it's coming back up. So we're seeing those patterns shift a little bit more to that. So really, we just saw that happen as you watched the news and just watched what happened. The other thing that I thought was really interesting, and as we had conversations with customers and as you saw requests coming in, was people really looking at ways to minimize demand for labor. Because remember, labor became short, right? You had a short supply for labor, people having a hard time getting people. And then when you did bring people in, you wanted to be really, really careful. So, demand for our maintenance-free products really started to increase because they require, less interaction, less support from people, and less people to do it. So that was an interesting shift. What can we do to minimize our needs there? So a couple of those dynamics that absolutely played out through the pandemic, and we just followed them right along.
We'll be back after a quick break.
You hear a lot about supply chains these days, because if the past couple years have taught us anything, it's that an efficient, well-managed supply chain is absolutely critical to keeping businesses successful and consumers happy. I'm Will Haywood, and I host a podcast called All Business, No Boundaries, where we talk about supply chains, how they work, what happens when they don't, and the innovations that are redefining what's possible in the world of logistics. Join me for insightful interviews with thought leaders and industry experts. We discuss how optimizing supply chains can break down the barriers that are holding businesses back. That's All Business, No Boundaries by DHL Supply Chain. Listen and subscribe wherever you get your podcasts.
Interesting. Yeah. It's interesting the contrast, I guess, in a whole for the supply chain overall, how, many businesses had a very hard time, like going through the pandemic, like barbershops and stuff like that. They couldn't be open sometimes. But then when you look at the supply chain, it was like thriving throughout the pandemic because it was like the lifeblood of everything. So it's interesting that you guys are seeing that on your end too, that, to keep up with the demand, people were purchasing more and making smarter decisions in terms of maintenance free and things of that nature. So I'm curious, when they were purchasing these the batteries, what types of technologies are they leaning more to?
There's a couple of trends that have been going on in say the last 3 to 5 years, if you will. And I think maybe the pandemic, and I'm thinking about this now. So maybe the pandemic helped it a little bit, but really the drive to maintenance-free products, also the drive to more fast and opportunity charge products. And granted, that's not a new trend, but I think we see it more and more accelerating, especially, say, in North America. But what you're looking at there is, for us, it was our Thin Plate Pure Lead, our Nexus Pure products. We launched our lithium product during the pandemic, and so we started to see that start to come up a little bit. But there's a lot of lithium that's being sold already, not by us, but just in the industry in general. And again, it's a maintenance-free product. It's a product that you're not changing. You're not having to do anything with. You don't need to take it in and out of the truck, and it charges fast. So TPPL does the same thing, but it's that category of products that we saw moving along, I think, pretty well through the pandemic. They didn't slow down during the pandemic. Let me put it that way.
Got it. Okay. Yeah, very interesting. I was curious, and it's interesting that you launched the lithium ion during the pandemic, actually. So the reception to that, I guess, was pretty well. It sounds like people were receptive to that, right?
Yeah, they were. We're a little late to the party, but we're there, and so very well received.
Okay, great.
But I think it's been in general, yeah.
Yeah, that's great, definitely. And, I think that, people are looking for that ease of use and like you said, maintenance free. I know, many people, like you mentioned in my own experience and, people that I know that work in warehouses and things like that, it's been difficult to get the labor, as you mentioned. And, also, people are looking to save money too, because there was a period certainly of uncertainty in the beginning of the pandemic. And it was kind of like, cut everything we can, right? Because we don't know what's going to happen.
Yeah, and certainly those first, say, April, May, and June of 2020, those were the sort of the months that were, probably the most confusing, the most nerve-wracking for everybody because no one really knew what was going to go. But then I think as you got into May and June, you started looking at it and you saw trends, especially the grocery store, the grocery chains, right? That whole distribution channel, which is like, okay, hoard this, hoard that, get this, get that, send it all home. We're not going to restaurants. We're doing it at home. And you saw that part of the channel really, or part of the industry, I think, really take off, right? They were buying a lot of stuff because their demand spiked.
Yeah, without a doubt. I mean, it was pretty crazy time to think back on. But yeah, I mean, it certainly, I guess, changed consumer behavior greatly. And I think, it's going to just mean that our industry is going to continue to boom because more people are going to be utilizing, e-commerce and ordering things online and all those different types of things now.
I absolutely agree. I think people got used to it, and I think they realized, like, hey, this is really convenient. I actually get some time back. I don't need to, maybe go into a store as much. There's still folks that want to, and, will we go back to exactly the way it was? Maybe not, but we probably will go back somewhat because I think there's an experience there too.
Yeah.
So, one thing we know is that there's no playbook for this, right?
No. Yeah, I mean, it certainly was not a predictable event at all.
Nope.
So you mentioned you launched the lithium ion during the pandemic, but you guys also recently came out with some more advanced power management tools as well. So tell me a little bit about the advanced power management tools and what kind of problem are they solving and what are they trying to do?
I will. And that's probably a little bit of a trend too that maybe I should have mentioned as well. So again, it goes back to the people focus. So not so much lack of people here, but hey, you know what? We don't want people from outside our company in our facility, be it our warehouse, our factory or whatnot, because we don't want you bringing in what you might have. We don't know if you're infected or not. So remote monitoring, getting a feel for how your equipment's doing without having to send someone in. And, in the battery world, we call it a poke and stick, where you're poking and sticking the battery. So you're taking a voltage meter and, or an amp meter, and you're clamping it on. You want to get volts and amps, current voltage on the battery, so that we can really, and we'll take specific gravity readings as well of the electrolyte, if it's a flooded battery, to help us understand how the battery is doing, what its state of charge is, what its state of health is, how is it performing. What we did is we kind of refreshed one of our battery monitors. We launched sort of a battery dashboard, and then we also launched an app that allows us to interface with our battery monitor and our chargers, again, to get some of that information off of the battery without needing to send a person in per se. And if you do send a person in, they're not doing some of the stuff they were doing, the poking and sticking, if you will. So we introduced some of that, part of the trend, part of the stuff we had been working on anyway, and that we just were able to launch and move out. So yeah, we launched a bunch of those things this year. Yeah,
I think that's great, and I mean it makes sense. It's moving towards that more connected warehouse and industrial aspect. So, part of the, I guess, these advanced power management tools, the product suite, I guess, is there's the Truck IQ, there's the, I guess it's YIQ.
Yeah, we call it YIQ. Okay. Yeah, and then
Enersys eConnect. So what's the difference between those three, and how do they all kind of work together?
Well, the last one doesn't have IQ in the name, but beyond that, I'm only kidding. So let me start with YIQ. YIQ really is our battery monitoring device, and it's been out for a while. We launched its fourth version, and this is our most up-to-date version. It has communication protocols built in. It's a slimmer device, if you will, less bulky. We have some upgraded algorithms on there. It's the wireless and Wi-Fi communication and Bluetooth as well. So we have a number of protocols on there. But basically, fundamentally, Kevin, it measures voltage, current, temperature, time, and electrolyte level if you're putting it on a flooded battery. Okay. You don't need the flooded version on a TPPL product or a lithium product because they're sealed batteries. But what we do is we monitor all those parameters, collect them, and then from that we can put patterns and trends together. We use it to determine usage of the battery, how it's doing, if it's being abused or not, state of charge, state of health. And like I said, that latest version of it has CAN communication, so we could actually integrate the battery into a truck operation. So, and we're just starting to work on this. This requires work with the OEMs to complete it, but it's where we're going to head with some of these. So that way, the battery is reporting its state of health and its conditions to the lift truck. And you're not relying on an external BDI anymore. You're basically putting it right into the battery data interface. You're putting it right into the truck, so it shows up on the truck panel. And you can set different alerts and alarms to go off. You can also actually disable, you can put lift lockouts in. You can disable the lift on the truck if you go low enough in the state of charge. So, okay, your lift motor disables. You can also slow the drive motor down on the truck if you really get deep in discharge. So it can do things to protect the battery, if you will, from an over-discharge situation. Plus, you've also given that operator a lot of warning on it. Yeah. Say, hey, go and charge. Again, protecting the battery asset, but also giving that operator a little bit of advance notice to say, you might want to plug this thing in while you're on one of your breaks, right? Yeah. Preventative maintenance or preventing a problem from happening. So a lot of advances on that YIQ to do that. eConnect is a phone app, and it lets you connect to either a YIQ or our chargers that are also Wi-Fi enabled and Bluetooth enabled, so that you can then, through the app, get information on how the battery's doing, on the charger's doing, what they're doing for all of the batteries in your fleet. The other thing that's kind of cool about it is, if you're having an issue, you can call Enersys, and we could talk you through it and say, okay, Kev, hey, can you do me a favor? Go out, hit that battery with your eConnect app because it's on your phone. Okay, great. Did it, Harold. Okay. Email me the file. Send me the file through the app, and we'll take a look at it, or we'll have a tech take a look at it, or an analyst take a look at it. It might save you a service call, because it might be, hey, Kevin, you need to charge that battery. Did you know that? Oh, really? I do? Yeah. Plug it in every once in a while. You'll be okay. Or, if it's worse, we can tell some stuff about that. So useful for not only us on the battery side, but useful for you as the end user that would be using it. So a very cool device that can let you know, or app that you can let you know about your charger or your battery. And then finally, Truck IQ. Now this one's a little different. This is in essence a battery dashboard. It's a little bit more featured than say your typical just BDI that's going to give you state of charge where you are, 1/3, 2/3, all full, to really give that driver or the operator some real-time battery status, plus some warnings. So it works with our YIQ device on the battery itself, and it's for those non-integrated solutions. So you may not be integrated into the truck on the dashboard and have all the, like I said, the enablement or disablement of different drive motors, but this is a screen. It gives you a really nice graphical interface about where the battery is and what things are going on with it, when you should be going for a charge. Really useful for lithium, and that's really what we're thinking as we come out with our Nexus Ion or as our Nexus Ion batteries out. If it's not a integrated solution or what we call a drop-in solution, I put the battery into the truck, I'm not integrated into its operation yet, but I have this advanced display that, gives me more information about how the thing is doing. So you can do it with TPPL. You can also do it with flooded as well through our YIQ. But we wanted to kind of come out with a device that was a little bit more graphical, a little bit more information oriented. I think as we integrate our batteries more into the operation of the trucks, and again, that's going to be an ongoing thing. That's going to take some time as we work with the OEMs to do that. You might not need Truck IQ as much, but if we haven't done an integration, it's a great solution for that. Other thing we have too is we have a Zincs program, which is really kind of the information comes up from these YIQs through a portal into a website, and we have analysts that look at it. It's a service that we'll sell with our batteries. Some customers take us up on it, and it's really a way to have all of your batteries and charger information available on a web portal. We have analysts that look at it, and through a variety of reports, they can send you information about how you're doing, where we see problems so that you can proactively get it. We can tie it into a PM program. So again, it's actually taking everything there and remotely monitoring stuff, but providing you information on things you may need to do with fleet sizing, proactive preventative maintenance, problems that we see, things like that. You can also get reports to help you analyze that. It's great for budget time of year if you're trying to figure out what equipment or hardware you need to replace or whatnot. So, that's taking it to one level even further from just you taking a look at it. And I should mention back on the YIQ and eConnect side of things, you can get reporting through that too. There's a YIQ report that comes out that's available through eConnect. So things like that. It's really, it's just taking it from devices that you have, but giving you a little bit more information that you can use in your management and your operation.
Yeah, without a doubt. I mean, it's pretty comprehensive. I mean, to cover kind of all the bases there, and even the multiple, I guess, output options, whether it's through Truck IQ or through integration to the truck itself. I mean, and I love the ability to go you said, to the charger, the battery, and access that report while you're on call with the service, and be able to just send it to them right then, because a lot of times probably you run into a situation, you have an issue, and then maybe it's like, oh, well, we can't get a tech out there until tomorrow or something, right? And it's later in the day, and it's like, oh my God, well, I gotta, it's crunch time, we gotta get these orders out. So, maybe it's a simple fix, and you can tell, just from that. So I think that's really cool. And I mean, it's a great overall, I think, package that you guys are building out here and developing over time. And I love the reporting aspect too that you mentioned about being able to.
Well, thank you for that. Yeah, we need to do. Yeah, and we're on a journey to do more and more of that, because you have to. And these are, it's holistic systems really that I mean. We all see this in our private non-work worlds, right? Yeah. So you start to get more and more of it, and you want more and more of it in the world and the systems that we use at work, and it just makes a lot of sense. And for exactly the reason you said, maybe there's some stuff you can work on your own just to get yourself back into operation. But our whole goal is to really kind of make sure that these systems are reliable, because that's what we're looking at, a battery and charger system anymore. As the batteries become smarter and the chargers become smarter, and really the batteries become smarter. When you look at the lithium and our Nexus Pure, our TPPL options, they've got a lot of intelligence built into those batteries now. And, taking advantage of that, is one of the things that we want to do to make it a better solution for our customers, so that the batteries are just there. Someone told me a long time ago, with fork trucks, run time is king, right? That's it was drilled in my head. The trucks need to go, because that's really what this is about. So anything we can do to help with that, and that if that's putting information in the hands of the people that are using them, or that manage them, or as part of a predictive or proactive approach to making sure they're operating, that's what it's about. So you've got to do it with information.
Yeah, without a doubt. I mean, I think, and having all those data points and allowing you to make the proper decision as an operation, even as you said, being able to come budget time, see like, okay, we have this type of usage, or, this machine is having some issues here and there, like maybe it's time to replace or upgrade or expand the fleet. I mean, even that information is incredibly useful.
Completely so. And, not just to stay focused on the newer technologies, we've got some great products that help manage flooded products in a battery change operation as well. You can do the same sort of thing and have that all up online. They can help you with that exact stuff. So, we've had those products offered, but they're integrated into these newer suites that we do too, because, they're still there. So It's just that trend. We've got the information. Let's tell the story with it and make it useful.
Yeah, without a doubt, and kind of along those lines too. So, I guess in reading the the press release about these tools and things, it mentions in there, helps you with your total cost of ownership, or your TCO, right? So I want to talk a little bit about this, because trying to, I guess, get in some terms here and there on the podcast to help some of these warehouse managers, evolve and be able to propose projects and certain things to their superiors. So tell us a little bit about, I guess let's start, what is total cost of ownership? What would you say is the definition there?
It's a great question. So total cost of ownership is it's more than a philosophy. It's really looking at your total costs and savings opportunities on a purchase. So let's think about it this way for a minute, and I'll make it specific to batteries. So if I'm going to sell you a Nexus Pure Thin Plate Pure Lead TPPL product, it's maintenance free. Mm-hmm. Now, it's more expensive than a corresponding flooded lead acid battery. Okay. Whoa, Harold. Yeah, Kevin. That's more money. Oh, yeah, I know, Kevin. But let's look at this for a second, right? With the maintenance-free battery, with the TPPL product, the Nexus Pure, you don't need to water it. Mm-hmm. Okay. And you don't need to buy a watering system for it. Oh, okay. So with your flooded battery, you need to buy a watering system. That adds to the cost a little. And then you need to water it every week. Now, what's that cost you? Well, it's labor, time, your hourly rate times the time it takes you to do it, times 52 weeks a year, plus the watering system. Now, maybe you also need, plus then you've got an impact on your operation, which is while you're doing that, it's not available to do anything.
Right.
Maintenance-free product, you don't have any of those costs. Now, the costs may vary. So this is where you got to do the math and you got to do the homework. But what I would tell you is that most likely in that total cost of ownership exercise, buying the more expensive battery probably saves you money over time, over the life of that product, because you're not having all those other costs, which add up week after week after week. Write that a little bit larger. Yeah. If I can keep my battery in my fork truck and I can fast charge or opportunity charge it in the truck, and it gives me the capacity to make it through my shifts, then I don't need a battery room with a battery changing system full of batteries, right? So again, I may spend more money on my faster opportunity charger and on my maintenance-free battery to do that, and maybe upsize the capacity a little bit, than a fleet of flooded batteries, but I'm not buying multiple batteries per truck, and I'm not spending money on a battery changing room or battery changing equipment, and I'm not spending the time to do that. Now, the math may work out, but you don't have the charge time or the capacity that you can do that, and you have to do that. Again, that's a total cost of ownership. Hey, this won't work for me. I can't do a one battery per truck operation. Oh, we'll buy another fork truck. Buy another 2 fork trucks, and that'll cover you. Ooh, that doesn't pencil out right. So it's looking at all of the stuff around and associated with just the purchase of the equipment. So you look at the operation and the other ancillary things that you might need to purchase to support, and the ongoing costs to have that solution work, and then putting all that down in paper or on computer and adding up the pieces. So we tend to use a program that we called Insight here. Okay. ENSITE. It's what our sales team uses, and it does that math for you. So what we'll do is a power study of your facility to make sure we understand the demand of the trucks and the application you have. We'll sit down with you and we'll talk to you and say, okay, what truck do you have? Well, we know what that draws. And we might put a power meter on the truck for a little bit to watch the demand. And then we'll sit down and say, well, all right, Kevin, how many breaks per day do you guys get? How many opportunities do you think you have to charge here? And, do you see any growth coming? And do you have busy seasons? And we'll put all that sort of stuff in, and we'll select maybe a flooded option for you, a maintenance-free option. Today, we would look at a lithium option, a TPPL option, and a flooded option, and we would consider battery change and non-battery changes for the flooded options. And then we would model all that out. And Insight would then not only look at giving us these total cost of ownership programs, because we would estimate some costs for your labor, ask you what your burdened hourly rate is, and we would do things like that with cost of recommending probably a watering system if you're going to use flooded product. Put all that sort of stuff in there, but we're also going to make sure that whatever solution you get can actually meet the power demands that your trucks have. Right. The last thing we want to do is have you have downtime because you don't have enough juice in the battery to get the job done. So, it's going to look at things like that where we might come in and say, you need to make sure you're charging, or you need a little bit more break time for charges, or we might need to put a faster charger in there to take advantage of the limited breaks you have. Or you may come and say, oh, you know what, I do 2 10s. I got 4 hours there. I'll just make sure that on those 4-hour breaks, we're plugging in these batteries to get me through that second shift. And things like that. Or it may just be you're so heavy duty that lithium is your solution. You pay a little more for that, but it gets you through the day. Those are the things you look at. It gets complicated. We like using a program that does that for us.
Yeah, having a program to do all that is very nice. But total cost of ownership, it is such an important thing. As you mentioned, there's so many different aspects, and like you mentioned, I think the key point there is when you look at 2 options, one up front may cost less, like you mentioned, but in the long run, it ends up costing you a lot more. And I think that is like the biggest takeaway there, because it's really important not to get lost in kind of that short-term savings, and then and you think about the long-term savings, because that's going to impact you one way or the other. And like you said, it could impact you on the just the overall cost side, but it could also impact you on ensuring that the life of the battery or something like that is longer, and making sure that like you said, it's the most important thing is always having that uptime with the battery and the forklift. So really great explanation there, and going into detail and really kind of laying it out there for the listeners. So I really appreciate that. So I want to know, I guess, what's going on next for batteries? What's going to be the next big thing in battery technology? I know lithium ion was kind of the big thing past couple of years, and you guys just got into it last year. And what's next for battery technology?
I don't think the lithium stuff is finished yet. I think we still got work to do there. Getting it out more and more, and into the marketplace, it's still a young technology in the material handling world. It really is. So there's advances there. Getting it more and more into use is one thing. But then I also, some more product availability. That's kind of the way I would phrase that. Integrating it into vehicles like we talked about, I think that's the next step. On the technology design horizon, more energy-dense lithium modules will be coming out, so we can pack more energy into each module. And that's just tweaks of the chemistry that we're using. And it's not just us. We're following along with the auto industry, right? As you see hybrid electric vehicles becoming more and more popular, if you will. They're driving really all of the innovation in that market to develop more dense lithium batteries, more energy dense. Why? Because we want to go further miles on a single charge, right? So that's great for what we're going to look at in the motive power world. We're going to pull that in so that that we can do the same thing. I think eventually, maybe in the next 5-10 years, you'll see a move to what we call solid state technology. So you'll replace the electrolyte that's in a lithium ion cell to a less flammable one. So that's, always one of the things you worry about with lithium. It's why the battery management system is so critically important, and the charge system that you do with it is so critically important. So we have a closed system. You want that charger and that battery intrinsically paired so you can maximize your safety. But I think you'll see a move to solid state over time on that. So that kind of stuff. For us, we continue to work on our thin plate pure lead technologies. The things that we're looking at are different things that we're doing to allow a wider range of operations. So there's some advances coming there. That's just the immediate battery stuff. Then there's things like energy storage systems, which are taking your lithium modules, but kind of putting them into an energy system package where you can then store power either from a solar array on your building, or maybe wind on your building or on your property, or using it to store less expensive off-peak power, putting that in there, and then charging your fork truck batteries from that. So there's some cool stuff to do there. And I think that ties in with how we're selling lithium. And then there's always one of my favorites, which is wireless charging technology. COVID slowed that down a lot. And then right now we're seeing you don't have to go very far into the news to look at how the car industry is affected by electronic shortages, right? So it's affected every industry globally. So that slowed some stuff down, but I still think that's coming out, and that's going to be a nice thing. So you've got that on it. The whole world of batteries is it's exciting because it's changing, but I think it's going to bring a lot of really great advances for what we do in material handling. It's going to make things easier. Yeah,
I think without a doubt, and some of the technologies you mentioned in there are certainly going to help with creating that ease, the increase in ease. And you mentioned the wireless charging, which I love the idea of that. And
me too.
Yeah, and I think the last I was aware, I saw the demo at Modex 2020.
Right. Literally the week before the shutdown. Yeah, exactly right.
Yeah, so I'm curious, how has it gotten into more customers at this point, or where is that in terms of like the adoption?
We have some active demos running, but that's as far as we've gotten with it. Yeah, it did slow down. With what's going on, everything globally with COVID, so it slowed us down on that. But we do have some active demos, and taking that one to the next level, they're pretty cool. It's just not COVID again. I hate to blame it, but it's true. It slowed us down on it.
Yeah. All right, understandable. So look forward to hearing more about the technology advances when we connect again in the future. So Harold, I really appreciate you coming back on this show. And how can people find out more information about Enersys?
They can always go to enersys.com, which is our global website. And then from there, we have some interesting links in different places that you can get stuff. We're also on LinkedIn. We have a logistics and warehousing page as well. So that's another one to go to. So if you look at Enersys on LinkedIn, and then there's a logistics and warehousing page that we have that's our content there. And we publish weekly something out on LinkedIn as well. So between LinkedIn and our website is a great place to go.
Okay, great. And we'll put links to those on thenewwarehouse.com as well. So, Harold, I want to thank you again for your time on the show today.
You've been listening to the New Warehouse Podcast with Kevin Lawton. Subscribe and check us out online at thenewwarehouse.com.
Thank you for listening to this episode. If you want more content from the New Warehouse, check out our new video series called All Hands on LinkedIn. Just search for the New Warehouse on LinkedIn and follow along.